Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of the There is a Floodlight That Never Goes Out podcast. As ever, I'm joined by Tom and Will. How are we, guys?
Really good, thanks.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Ed.
Good. Today we'll be reviewing the Tuesday's fixtures in the Championship and also looking ahead to game week 42 and what it has in store. So let's start with Tuesday's games, and they were crucial for both ends of the table, really. And we'll start with the earliest kickoff, the 5:30 kickoff, which took place in West Yorkshire, Huddersfield versus Bournemouth. And it saw the Cherries collect a fifth straight win in the league as they continue to romp into the latter stages of the campaign. Tom, what did you make of this game?
Yeah, it was to be expected. Another 3 points. The Cherries. I'd just like to say, Bournemouth first half, absolutely scintillating stuff they played, and we've dissed him on the pod a few times, and I still think some of the criticisms are valid. But the way Jonathan Woodgate's got this side playing at the minute, you've got to give him credit. And Philip Billing in the number 10 role again, excelling. And you look at some of the personnel they've got, Arnaud Danjuma on the left, David Brooks on the right, Dominic Solanke is their number 9. They're a team to be feared when you come up against them.
Yeah, definitely.
I completely agree with you, Tom. And I think they sort of showed that class in the first half, getting their 2 goals. But I think, in credit to Huddersfield, I think you've got to say that second half, they did show a bit of fight, obviously pulled 1 goal back, and, just if things went their way a little bit better, if they had what you could say, a decent pair of strikers, then you never know, they might have got a point out of that game.
Yeah, just on their strikers and their squad in general. There's no sort of coherent strategy at the club, it seems, Just take Barnsley, for example. We've got young CEO, we've got a young manager with clear ideas that match the club's philosophy, and we've got a transfer policy that matches it too. Whereas with Huddersfield, it's been very higgledy-piggledy since they've come down from the Premiership. On the one hand, they've got a couple of really good youngsters, your likes of Romani Edmonds-Green, Lewis O'Brien, but then they've got, geriatric Richard Keogh at the heart of the defence, and Fraser Campbell and the invisible Manu Marniase brought in. Ed, what do you think about Huddersfield's squad? Because we said pre-pod, it's actually abysmal, their team, when you consider the amount of money that's come into the club from their Premier League journey.
It really is. I mean, obviously, it's worth noting that money at the disposal is obviously highly limited due to the sale of the club. But the transfer policy has been all over the place, like you mentioned. On the Umani Ase, I mean, there's nothing they can really do. Bringing in a free agent at this time of the season, I always thought was a bit pointless, considering they brought in Yaya Sanogo. Obviously, he's got injured, Umani Ase, and looks to be out for the rest of will be out for the rest of the season and could never play a game for the Terriers. So in that respect, you've got a feel for them. But I think it's also worth noting the injury crisis. And a full-strength Huddersfield Town side looks a lot better than the team they're managing to cobble together right now. But yeah, I think if you're a Huddersfield fan, you're definitely in a worse place now than you are pre-Premier League era. And I don't think any club really can view that as a positive.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, let's move on then to a game. I mean, do we have to talk about Sheffield Wednesday Swansea?
We do.
Yeah. Of course we do. Look, I'll start on this one. First of all, I want to sort of reiterate what we've been saying for most pods, really, and that's Swansea aren't a very good side anymore. They were very average at best, especially leading up to the goal. The first half an hour, we were on top in that game. I firmly believe. Tom Lees then decided to drop a howler, which, in credit to Tom Lees, has been very un-Tom Lees like this season, and they finished it well. You just knew Jamal Lowe would score against us after. I know he broke his barren run against Millwall, but you knew if he was going to get a goal, it would come against us. And then Fulton's goal was a great ball by Connor Roberts. Poor defending from Tom Lees. I mean, he's literally let Barry Bannon try and defend across. The guy's, he's about 5'6", I think. So really poor decision making there from Tom Lees, and it's cost us. Losing these games this isn't what's going to get us relegated. It's losing other games, the bigger games against bottom 6, bottom 10 sides, if you get what I mean. I think the word to sum this one up was apathy, because that's all I really feel. I don't feel, I wasn't screaming at my television or it was none of that. It was just sort of sit back, take it in, a bit like the QPR game, just accepting the inevitable now and sort of getting excited, because in patches, ball at feet, going through the phases, we are 10 times the side we were under, say, Pulis or Thompson, but you can't really judge Thompson. So yeah, there are positives there, but it's just another game closer to the inevitable relegation.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will, go on.
I was just going to say, Ed, so is that it? Are you 100% going down? Is that it? No more hope?
100%, especially with the result we'll come on to next. We're a goner.
At what point are me and Will allowed to start singing Status Quo, Get Down, Deeper and Down?
You can start now if you really want. You can start now.
My final word on that, or first word and final word on that, would be, a guest of the pod who we've had on, and I'm sure you'll have listened to the pod yesterday that we released with him. Joe Cran said, it's a copy and paste game for Wednesday. Start well, the match the side they're playing, and then an individual error lets them down, and they sort of middle out and lose. Yeah. And he said the same as you, Ed. He's sort of accepted the drop now. But yeah, Darren Moore is definitely still the man for Wednesday. Even in my tinted red glasses, I can see that he's doing a very good job at Wednesday, 100%. Given the circumstances. Moving on to that game then, Ed. Rotherham 3, Queen's Park Rangers 1. And how typical is it that the R's, who were so clinical on Saturday, all of a sudden lose their shooting boots when they turn up to New York?
It was bound to happen, wasn't it? But credit to Rotherham. It's a result that perhaps some people gave them no chance. It's the start of this run of ridiculous amount of games in a short amount of weeks. But they've started it as well as they could do. And there's a secret part of me that's sort of, urging them on to stay up, because, like I said, I've accepted Wednesday going down, and Rotherham did in this game what we failed to do this whole season, and that is, when you go down, get something from the game. We're the only team in the top 5 divisions of English football not to get a single point from a losing position.
That's abysmal.
And Rotherham obviously got all 3 points with 3 goals. Freddie Ladapo getting 2, and then Michael Smith getting the other. And yeah, there's just a sneaky, slight part of me that sort of wants them to stay up, because something about that side, the fighting spirit, compared to, say, a Coventry or a Derby, I think they deserve to stay up, and they've been very unlucky this season.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just touch on this one, like you say, I think Rotherham, in all the games I've sort of seen them play, they've shown glimpses of playing some really good football. Especially in that Huddersfield game, how they didn't score was like unbelievable. And it seems like in this game they've finally, found the back of the net, and it's a massive 3 points for them in their bid for survival.
One man who's found his shooting boots of late, Ladapo. I mean, this guy, he's scored a lot of goals in League One.
Mm-hmm.
But the step up that he's made in the past month or so, bagging vital goals for the Millers, I really admire it. And whilst not being quite on the level of Wickham in terms of lacking championship quality, and Paul Warne, I still think results like this prove that he's doing a great job at Rotherham, regardless of their league position. And
Definitely.
on the Rangers front, we thought QPR had turned a corner under Mark Warburton, but it still seems that they're prone to these sort of results after a positive win. That's probably my final word on it.
Yeah, I think you can't really. I think if from a QPR perspective, it's just one of those games. and I think
Yeah.
they'll easily forget about it. And obviously, Lyndon Dykes back amongst the goals.
Yeah, scored again, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, just a quick word on Dykes. I don't see anything in him really. I know he scored 2 against us, so I just want to say I am aware of that. But I don't know, something about him. I feel he's slightly overrated, But I mean, I'm happy to see him scoring.
We were linked for a move with him in the summer, but who needs DKs when you've got DK?
Yeah,
very good point. Very good point. Let's look ahead then to. Well, we've got 2 games today, this evening. Blackburn versus Derby and Reading versus Cardiff. Let's start at Ewood Park. Let's face it, a huge game for the relegation battle with that Rotherham win. Derby, they're really not safe. They are well and truly in the mire. I know on Wednesday, Wayne Rooney's press conference said that he's 100% confident they'll stay up. For me, that's a sort of naivety which could end up costing them.
Yeah,
I genuinely believe.
Listen, it's you know what, I think it's the words of a man who knows he's under the cosh. There's no danger of Eric Alonso pulling the trigger on Rooney, by the way. He's definitely going to be the Derby manager, even if they do go down. To look at where they are in the league, look at Coventry, who, if they win their game in hand, go above them. I think it's very naive to say that they're safe. And if results go against them, they could be in the bottom 3 this time next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think, am I right in saying that, even if they could literally win, technically, they could win every game for the rest of the season and still go down, couldn't they? Because both Coventry and Rotherham have got game. I mean, clearly, that's probably not going to happen. But like you say, it's very naive of him to say they're definitely safe when they're literally not. You know what I mean? It's and I think we've seen that quite a lot with Rooney in his press conferences. Almost showing a bit of, not necessarily, do I want to say arrogance? I don't really know.
It is arrogance.
It is arrogance.
It is 100%. It's my bugbear with him. Is that I don't feel like he takes the league seriously enough at times. And he disrespects it. Like when he disrespected Barnsley, you've got to learn just to take those results on the chin and accept you were the worst side on the night. You can't come up with all this. Oh well, the most direct side in the league. Well, yeah, and it works, Wayne. So pipe down a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, but
sticking up on Barnsley, what's going on?
I know, well,
it's an Oxley-esque Sheffield rant here. Go on.
It is. No. It just infuriates me when people don't take the league seriously because he's had one of the best careers an English player's ever had, and as a player, unbelievable. But you're in the here and now, Wayne, and let's secure your own championship safety first. Because I think if Derby go down, a quick word on them if they go down. I think they're in a worse position than when we go down, personally. With the change in ownership, now I doubt Eric Alonso would then back out the deal. It doesn't sound like it's permitting on the league. But they're in financial turmoil more than us, I would argue. So, yeah. But on the game itself, I mean, I thought Blackburn, obviously, the 2-2 against Cardiff, they put in a winning performance there, for me personally. And I see them, I see them winning this game. I mean, what about you guys?
Well, I'm going to say one final word on Rooney, and that's, in his press conference, I think he's trying to sound a bit like Fergie, in the sense that there was that little bit of arrogance, but you could understand it.
Yeah.
In the end, he's starting to sound like Rafa Benitez when he's talking about his facts. Remember that really weird rant Benitez did? And he sounds like that every press conference after every match. He looks at the league as if I'm Wayne Rooney, I should be picking up results. And I find it arrogant, like you said. But anyway, that's the last word on him. And on Blackburn, I'm in agreement with you, Ed. If they turn up to the game on Saturday at Ewood Park, on Friday at Ewood Park with the same sort of performance that they did and mentality that they had in Cardiff, I think they'll pick up 3 points. They've got their man back in the goals, Adam Armstrong, the most magical dwarf I've seen since Warwick Davis.
Jesus.
Yeah. I do think if they turn up, they'll pick up the 3 points. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I agree. I think the post-match interview from Tony Mowbray after the draw at Cardiff was almost quite convincing, and he made it sound that he was going to get the lads sort of, they weren't just going to have an easy run in. He wanted them to show a bit of fight, and we did see that against Cardiff. And I think that might shock this Derby team a little bit. And yeah, I think Blackburn will win as well.
Good stuff. So on to the Majewski. Huge game for you Barnsley fans. Reading take on Cardiff. I only see one winner here, and that's Reading. I think I saw on Wednesday Paunovic say that John Swift should be back for this game. I could be wrong there, but
huge.
Yeah, that is a huge addition. Cardiff, they've hit a bit of a rut of form, mellowed out this season really, and Reading will know it's getting down to last chance saloon. I know there are 5 or 6 games left. There's 5 games left this season for them, and they need to be winning games. It's simple as that.
Yeah, they do. But just before I go on to this game, it was announced on Wednesday that Reading had incurred net losses of £133 billion, which I think, whilst being in the second tier of English football, is A, ridiculous, and B, how's it gone unpunished?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's more than Manchester City. It's like it's just ridiculous.
It's shocking.
And how it's that guy kind of just appeared out of nowhere, like no speak of it before. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it was less though than last season. I think I read that they had saved. I mean, this could be completely wrong, but I seem to remember they'd saved about £8 million. So they're on the right track.
Go on then.
But in all seriousness though, I think this points to one thing and one thing only, and that is not a fire sale, but in the summer, the likes of Elise, the likes of Ajaria, the likes of Joao, I can see them all going if Reading don't make it to the Premier League, and then that sets them back to square one, doesn't it?
Look, I think it's shit or bust this season for Reading. I really do, and this game is so important for them. If they lose this and we pick up a victory on Sunday at Cov, and it's an 8-point gap with 4 games to go, and then they're really in trouble. But I do agree with you, Ed. I can't see Cardiff really coming and providing much of a test for Reading. Reading's flair players, always seem to turn up at the Majewski, and even if you only have one of Elise, Joao, Mate, Ajaria, and if he's back, John Swift on form, they can win your games on their own. So yeah, I see a Royals win here, but if the teams above them keep winning, it's a failure for Paunovic, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it'd be maybe harsh to pin it on Paunovic as a failure.
Yeah, probably.
But I think it's a failure for the club as a whole, definitely. I mean, Will, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I think it's a failure from the position they found themselves in. While it was unexpected, they put themselves in a very good position first half of the season, and so to not make playoffs, I think, would be quite disappointing for them. But yeah, as much as I would love Cardiff to get something from this game, I just think, Reading star men, it's games like this that ultimately get them over the line. So yeah, I think Reading will win this.
So let's move on to the 12:30 kickoffs, as they now are. Obviously, the fixtures have been moved because of the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. We'll start with Brentford versus Millwall in a London derby. I would say it's a big game, but I sort of feel that both these, Brentford, I feel they're comfortable in their playoff position, and Millwall, they're just petering out towards the end of the season. I mean, Reading have got 7 points to make up on Brentford, and Brentford have a game in hand. So, Brentford still need to keep ticking along, but I think they can start focusing on the playoffs now, in my opinion. I mean, Tom, what do you think will happen in this game?
Yeah, I think you're right in the sense that Brentford, I think they have top 6 in the bag. It's just about where do they finish now, and I don't think you want to be finishing. They might finish 3rd in the end anyway, but I don't think you want to be finishing 5th or 4th because you're probably going to end up playing Bournemouth. I wouldn't want to play Bournemouth over 2 legs in the form they're in at the minute.
No, I mean, yeah.
On this game on its own, yeah, Millwall before the defeat to Swansea, they picked up 3 victories on the spin, but they're just a strange team, aren't they? Towards the end of any season, Millwall always seem to threaten to make a push for the playoffs, and it never their push never really comes to fruition. And Brentford, they look banging form with that 5-0 win at Preston. I mean, who wouldn't when they've won 5-0? And their strikers are back scoring. They had 5 different goal scorers on Saturday. They had Mbuemo, who I've criticised in the past, but was brilliant. Ivan Toney, Kanyos Marcondes, and the man who's no finish. He's 21. Just fours.
Had to get that joke in there.
Listen, mate, it was a gaping hole.
It was.
For the Bees, I can see nothing other than a win. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Millwall, they've had a few good results, but that 3-0 loss against Swansea is probably set them back a little bit. Brentford, they're going to probably hit a bit of form, hopefully into the end of the season. So, yeah, I think the Bees will take all 3 points.
Let's move on to Luton versus Watford in what is a derby between the two sides. Again, though, both their league positions seem pretty certain. I guess we're all in agreement that we back a Watford win here. It's hard not to, with what Žižko Munoz has done to the club since he's come in.
Yeah, he's
Tom,
done a brilliant job.
Yeah, Tom, any sort of further comment on this game? Or are we all in agreement that we see a Hornets win?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Ed. The one thing I will say is it's just a golfing class, really. It's going to be Martin Craney up against Ismail Assar. Let's be fair. Let's be fair here. Luton have a chance. I'm not knocking Luton because I know they get the same treatment Barnsley get in terms of we should be beating teams like Luton, teams like Barnsley, but I think Watford will just have too much for them.
Yeah. I agree. But, saying that, if Luton's sort of starmen, if you like, do show up, they can cause, issues. Adebayo, Luar, etc. They're not bad players. But, I think it's going to take something special for Luton to get anything out of this game and sort of outclass the top class that is Watford.
Yeah,
defo. So let's move on then to, again, we don't need to spend much time on this because it's the definition. It's a Forest versus Bristol sort of game, this one. Middlesbrough versus QPR. Battle of the mid-table. Neil Warnock, he'll just want to be playing for pride, as will Mark Warburton. Obviously, Borough in a bit of a bad run at the minute. No winning 4, 3 losses in that time. I said it before, say it again. They always seem to lose, yet still somehow 10th in the table. QPR in 11th. A point between the sides. I see a draw here, a sort of not anticlimactic because there's no suspense going into it, but a sort of drab affair. Will, what do you make of this game?
I think it's one of them. It'll either be just a nothing game, nothing in it, a draw or whatever, or one of the teams might just run away with it. It's like such a weird game, but one of them where QPR could just put like 5 past them. But no, I'm more inclined to say that it'll just be a bit of a nothing game, and like I think I'll probably finish in a draw.
Yeah, Tom.
I was just going to say the same as Will, pretty much just echoing what he says. I think it's going to be pragmatic regardless of the scoreline, and it's Warnock against one of his former clubs. Or does that count for much? He's been knocking about 40 years. He's probably moved out to the Championship. I do think probably Borough have the slight edge over Queen's Park Rangers in the sense they've got a lot of striking power. Got the likes of Sombalonga, Fletcher, Akpom, Balassi. They might not have gotten the score sheet of late, but probably due a flurry of goals. I'm in agreement with Will. I think it'll be tight, but I do think Borough will just nick it.
Good stuff. On to Wednesday versus Bristol.
Is it becoming a nothing game?
It is a nothing game. It's Bristol. All their games are nothing games at the minute. Obviously Nigel Pearson returning to Hillsborough. The club he captained on Wednesday. If he wants to be nice, he could give us the 3 points. Something tells me that won't happen. again, and you can laugh at me for saying this, it's a sort of game I see us winning because the performances of recent times haven't matched the results. And Bristol, we have slated them quite rightly on the pod pretty much every single time they've played, and they're there for the taking.
I was just going to say, absolutely stinks of a Chef Wednesday win, which then gets all your fan base's hope up.
Yeah.
Only for you then to lose your next game. So, yeah, I can actually see you picking up the 3 points in this one.
Yeah.
I think... I'm sorry, Tom.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, Bristol, Nigel Pearson's obviously probably given him a piece of his mind after, losing 3 on the bounce to Rotherham, Stoke and Coventry. Then, a 0-0 draw at home to Nottingham Forest on Saturday. So they might turn up for this one. You never know. But yeah, I think I can see Wednesday picking up a win here.
I think it'll be a real almost test of character for Wednesday. This game will show if sort of the players and staff still believe. I think if Wednesday show up and put in a really good performance, it shows that there's still a bit of belief around the camp. But if they rock up and it's just a bit of a nothing performance, I think that'll echo the fans' view of it's all over.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to Stoke. Stoke versus Preston. Another incredibly meh game, to put it kindly.
The most meh game ever.
Preston obviously coming off the back of that spanking by Brentford. Stoke, the most inconsistent team this season, really, coming off a disappointing 2-0 loss to Blues. I see Preston winning this game personally, because
Right.
I think Brentford performance aside, the 2 performances previously to that, we saw the Brentford of old starting to come back, and at a time like this, I don't think the loss to Brentford will have really affected confidence too much because they know there's nothing really left to play for. They'll be playing with freedom for Frankie McAvoy. And Stoke, they're just, incredibly average. And I see a Preston win here.
Yeah. Also, Michael O'Neill's assistant manager, leaving the Bet365 this week. I still call it the Britannia, but I'll call it the Bet365 in case you ever get sponsored by them.
Dean Alden incoming as well.
Yeah. It was, as much as we've slated him, on the podcast for the Bristol tenure he had, he's a good coach. So yeah, I'm not sure I agree with you, Eddie, that the pressure's off Preston. I think they've got one of the more demanding fan bases in the league, and maybe they are still looking over their shoulder at Rotherham a little bit because Rotherham win a game in hand. There's only 6 points between them and the relegation zone. It's unlikely that they're going to go down, but we stayed up despite the fact we were 5 points adrift with 2 to go last season. So you never know in this league. But you are right in the sense that Stoke, they're just so poor. We've talked about the coherence of their starting 11, and there just doesn't seem to be any. They started away at Blues with a front 2 of Brown and Fletcher. You've got a really good pressing forward, and then you've got Mr. Has he crumbled into dust yet? Stephen Fletcher next to him. It doesn't make sense, Stoke City. I know I've slated both sides, but I think Stoke will win.
I don't even know how do you even go about trying to predict this one? It completely depends what side shows up from both teams. Preston have shown glimpse of good performances, good point against Norwich, good win against Swansea. Stoke have just been so hit and miss all season, so I'm going to call this one a draw.
Yeah, well, I made that at least 1 minute too many speaking about that game. So let's move on to the final 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. Swansea versus Wickham. Big game for the Swans, obviously. 2 wins on the bounce. They look to be not back to their best because they were very average against Sheffield Wednesday, but at least getting the results back going into the playoff campaign. They can still catch Watford, in second. Only 7 points behind them. Unlikely, definitely though. Tom, how do you see this game going?
Swansea are going to win, aren't they? It's that simple. Swansea going to win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think once you've got Ayew and Jamal Lowe scoring again, Wickham are going to be no match for them.
Yeah, I think also Wickham, unfortunately for them, the ship of safety looks to have sailed with that loss to Luton. Let's go to the 8 o'clock fixture.
Oh, sorry,
then.
Ed. I might just have to butt in. We have left out our old favourites, Nottingham Forest. Sat there playing
They're
Huddersfield.
that forgettable. We forget about them.
I have
sometimes.
completely glossed over that fixture, and I wholeheartedly apologise to the whole of Nottingham Forest fan base for that. I mean, it couldn't be any other team than Forest, couldn't it? Really.
To be fair, this one's not as irrelevant as the others.
It isn't.
Huddersfield have found themselves in a bit of a sticky situation down the bottom end of the table, haven't they?
They have.
Yeah, I'm going to apologise to Forest fans on behalf of the whole podcast. I know we seem to bollock you every week, and I know we say how irrelevant you are. Next season, if you stick with us, we'll talk about you more. But
it's nothing personal at all. It's just your league position.
Well, it is from me. I'm from Barnes. I don't like you.
Very good point. Very good point.
No, I'm only joking. But yeah, it's not an irrelevant game this week. They're up against Town, who are embroiled in a relegation scrap. And how's this for some positiveness, Forest fans? You're gonna win. I think you're gonna beat them. You've got one of the best players in the league, Jimmy Garner. You've got Graben, who, although I've criticised again, I think he'll probably bag this weekend. And Alex Myton's looking really good recently. And he'll be a thorn in the side of Town all afternoon. What do you think about this one, Will?
I mean, in fairness to Forest, they've only lost like 3 in the last 10, and they've been against pretty decent. Losing against Watford and Norwich is very understandable. So yeah, I can see Forest taking all 3 points here. I think Huddersfield have been really poor of late. What have they had, like 1 win in the last 10 or something? So yeah, I can see a Forest win here as well.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to Forest under Houghton that we don't really focus on their games too much because they're just quietly going about their business of staying up, which was always his aim. So let's now go to the 8 o'clock fixture in what is
a huge game.
Arguably, I would say the biggest game of the game week, no doubt.
It's a Premier League game.
I'm
sorry, but it just is.
And it will be a Premier League game next season for me personally. It's Norwich versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth, we talked about it, 5 wins in the league in a row. It'd be a very tough but impressive ask if they manage to make it 6 against the Canaries. The Canaries, look, they've got promotion in the bag. They've got the title pretty much in the bag. They're just cruising to happiness right now. Tom, how do you see this game going though?
It's probably the hardest game to call we've done since we've started the podcast, I'd say, in the sense that 2 teams, I won't say Norwich are at the absolute peak of their powers, but this season they've been overall one of the best sides we've seen at this level ever. Bournemouth at the minute, they look looking formidable. We just have to wait and see. Is Timu Pukki their kryptonite? I think the only way probably that Norwich pick up 3 points in this one is if they can get Pukki back in the goals. And I think Bournemouth's weakest area of the pitch is their defence. And credit to them, because you look at their defence and it's got Steve Cook in it, Lloyd Kelly, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Adam Smith. So it's not a bad defence, but it's certainly their weakest area of the pitch, and Norwich's strongest area of the pitch is their front line. So I think it's hard to call, but I think Norwich will pick up 3 points in this one.
Yeah. I from a Barnsley perspective, I hope Norwich pick up the 3 points. For me, I think while Bournemouth have shown they have got some very good attacking players. We've said how Philip Billing's been really important for them these last few weeks. I do maybe think that if any defence is going to cope with it, I do like that Norwich defence. and then that combined with, if their front line gets firing, that they are absolutely unbelievable. And so I'm just sort of hoping that, like you say, they get Pucky, Cantwell, Buendia, etc. in the game, and hopefully they'll pick up all 3 points against the Cherries.
Yeah, I mean, you touched upon the defence there. Obviously, the partnership of Hanley and Omobamidele. Omobamidele hasn't actually, I don't think, conceded a foul yet in his 4 appearances. He's got like 60% tackle success, 92% passing success, and in that sort of Norwich side, your defenders need to be able to play out. I've already, what's the word? I've already spoken of my love for Grant Hanley, and it will never wane. I think he's the best centre back in the division.
Guys, I'm sorry, but it's just if you're listening, it's strange how much Eddie loves this man.
I think to touch on it, it's the relationship they've got is quite obviously. You've got the experienced head of Hanley, then the young. I think he's only 18, isn't he? Omobamidele. So
yeah, he is.
It is quite. They've just managed to build a very solid relationship at the back. And
the thing is the interchangeability. Is obviously, Omobamidele's only just come in, but he's slotted in. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to Farke's treatment of the youngsters. It's great also to see Kieran Dowell starting to gain a bit of form, and he'll be looking to bring that form into this game. Personally, I see a Norwich win or a draw. I can see it's being a sort of 1-1, 2-2 draw. Both sides, their key aim will be to not lose this game. I think we can agree on that. Bournemouth, I think, would take a point if I was in their position. I certainly would. And so it could be slightly anticlimactic, but let's hope it's not. Any final words on that, fixtures?
No,
that's it from me. I think you've summed it up well.
Right, well, we've talked about Saturday's games, and let's go on to Sunday, because we've got 2 on Sunday, and we talked about the Norwich Bournemouth game being the biggest game of the game week, but I'm actually going to change my opinion because I think Rotherham versus Birmingham, this is a chance for me personally for Blues to secure safety or be dragged right back into it. And Tom, how do you see this game going?
It's such a tough one to call. It really is. I'm just a disclaimer, even though we've talked about it in present tense, this is being recorded before Coventry Rotherham game. So obviously I don't know the outcome of that one. But just the fact that they're going Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, don't see how they can, outfight Birmingham.
Yeah.
And Birmingham have the better players. So when you look at it and you see Rotherham beating teams because they want it more, I just can't see them having the fitness levels to do Birmingham. Having said that, Birmingham sometimes they turn up and they just don't want it. I look at some of the games this season. At Oakwell, they looked shocking, like genuinely shocking. They looked like they wanted the ball out for throw-ins more than they wanted it in play. And they've taken some absolute tonkings this season at home, but on the road they've been a decent side. So I can see the Lee Bowyer reign continuing to be fortuitous or fruitious, should I say, for the Blues.
I think, like you say, it's just so hard to call because it completely depends on how Rotherham's games go. Because even though they're playing games very close together, if they manage to pick up some wins in that and get a bit of momentum, then there's nothing to say they won't go and beat Birmingham. But if they lose these games really close, they're going to be knackered and have no momentum, and then in that way you can only see Birmingham winning. So it's so hard to call. But for me, I don't know. I just do quite fancy Rotherham to stay up. I just think Paul Warne has got his team playing well. I'm scared that Birmingham might have just been under a bit of a honeymoon period under Bowyer, and whether that lasts till the end of the season or whether it'll run out, it's very hard to say. But I think I'm going to back Rotherham in this one.
Yeah, I think I see a Rotherham win here, but you got to give credit to Lee Bowyer. As Tom said, just on that point, Tom did say we are obviously recording this pre-Rotherham's Thursday night fixture. I know at points I've been speaking as if I am recording on Friday. So Tom obviously hasn't harnessed the power of time travel like myself. But if there's any confusion, I'll just clear that up there. No, for this game, I just see Rotherham having that bit more fight because I think Birmingham will be safe. Definitely, I think that Huddersfield, Derby, and Coventry are all worse than them right now. So I don't think there is danger particularly of going down. But I think Rotherham on the day, if they can take the chances, a huge if for Rotherham and the Millers, I think will be okay.
Yeah. Like we said, we unfortunately me and Will haven't harnessed the power of time travel like our good man Ed. But yeah, like I said, guys, I just don't see how you can a competitive championship fixture with it being, what is it? Your third in 5 days?
Yeah.
I just don't know how you can do it physically, and they've not got the biggest of squads as it is. We'll see. Maybe they'll do something superhuman, win 3 on the trot, and then you're looking at them and you're going, well, the luck search for survival now. But we'll see.
Definitely. So there might also be a little game going on between Coventry and Barnsley on that day at 3:00. A huge game for you two. Obviously, you're getting, the games are ticking down, and you're getting closer and closer to a playoff place being certified. How big is this game for your season?
I wouldn't say it's that big, actually.
Really?
No, it's probably, yeah. I don't think it's that big. We've got a 5-point cushion over the Royals, and there's a good chance that Bournemouth aren't going to pick up 3 points at Carrow Road. So I think it's a game that we can afford to not win. I don't think it's a game we can afford to lose. Let me just say that. I think if we lose this game, it'd be terrible, not just for our confidence, but we're not picking up points. But if we can pick up a draw, I'm not saying I want a draw, but if we can just pick up a draw, Bournemouth don't win, we go back above them. Even if Reading win, we still have a cushion. So it's not crucial.
Yeah.
It is big. You just on the Reds, obviously I'm in a good position, and Will is in a good position to talk about us in more depth. But I think our style is perfectly matched to beating Coventry. Coventry, one of the better footballing sides in this league, and I think they're very, very similar to what we were like last season in the sense they play well against teams and don't win, and the opposition fans are always going, "Oh, you did really well. I hope you stay up." All this sort of thing. And we were like that last season. Now we're just shithouses. Opposition fans play us, and they go, "I don't want to play you ever again. You're shit. You're not going up. All this, all that." We get the job done, and we've got the players now. Your DKs, your Morris, Carlton Morris, who can get the job done. And in midfield, I'd like to see us go Apo Halme, because I think against Matty James and Callum O'Hare, and if he starts Gustavo Hamer, have that height in there. I don't think Coventry will be able to contain us. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I think when talking about the importance of this game, I think it's more important for Barnsley just to not lose. Just don't. I think we did well that we recovered after the Wednesday defeat and didn't let it change our form, but the last thing you want running into the end of the season towards the playoffs is to start hitting some bad form when we've been so good. So just for these last few games, you just need to make sure you almost don't lose. Do what we've been doing, control the game, and try the very best to get all 3 points. And I think if we go about the game similar to Middlesbrough, almost respect the opponent, don't think you're just going to outclass him. Sort of respect him, make sure you don't concede, and then, like you say, let our players with a bit of class show what they can do, and the goals will come.
Yeah. Just sort of, I don't know, is it a metaphor? I think our games are like Tyson Fury fights. You don't always tune in. If you're not a boxing purist, you probably don't enjoy Tyson Fury fight, because he's not going in there just to knock out his opponent. Mm-hmm. He's going in there to break down the opponent round by round, win the rounds, And then, if he's broken them down enough, he'll knock them out 9 and 10 at, championship rounds 11, 12. That's what Barnsley do. First half will often just contain a team. Get to half time at 0-0 or 1-0, and that's the job done. That's why I think, Ed, Wednesday was so successful against us, because you went 1-0 up in the first half. And we went into the break and we were down, and that's not something that's happened many times this season. We've got a good record at coming from behind, but we tend to equalise within the same half as we concede. So yeah, I think just do a job on Coventry, keep them at arm's length. Like Will says, respect the opponent, because they've got good players and players who probably are better than 21st position in the Championship. But we've not won I know it's at St Andrews, but we've not won an away fixture against Coventry in 97 years.
Wow, I mean, stats aren't great then. I mean, you winning would do us a massive favour for. No, I'm not even going to talk about
do you
survival.
No,
because...
let's not get it twisted. We win, you win. It's only 4 points.
It is, but then obviously Rotherham. That's the problem with Rotherham having so many games in hand, is it's hard to get a clear picture of what the relegation picture looks like.
Yeah.
And like I said, in my mind, we're down, and I'm sort of I am excited about what the future holds on Darren Moore, and I'm glad it. Touch wood, isn't going to go down to sort of a last-minute heartbreak on the final day where we thought we could stay up, and it's like, no, if you know what I mean. I'd much rather this sort of accepting nature, a bit like when Ipswich went down. Obviously, I don't want to do what Ipswich have done when they're down in League One, but they sort of accepted it, embraced it, and there was a bit of a positive atmosphere around the club. I seem to remember going down to the 3rd tier. So if we've covered all the games there, and looked back upon Tuesday's games, we're getting really down to the business end of the season now, and every game is a cup final for half the teams in the division now, and it promises for some exciting results.
Yeah. Can I just have one last word on it for the listeners, or if you're
Absolutely.
on YouTube, the viewers / listeners still. We've got some really exciting content coming up soon. We've got some good guests in the pipeline. We've got some really great ideas in the pipeline as well. So stick around. Face cams are coming soon. That's something we're working on. And also, we really do appreciate all the support on the recent podcast. It's been, from all of us here, it's been really overwhelming. Some of the support has been brilliant. Please do like on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, because we really need to get those subscribers up. Follow us on Twitter, the link's in the description. Follow us on Apple, give us a review. And follow us on Spotify, we really do appreciate it all. Yeah,
definitely echo what you said, and some of the guests we've got coming on / we've had on, it's been really cool. That's the way I can sum it up, really. You know what I mean? Personal highlights for me, Dom Alston and Joe Cran. They say never meet your heroes. Well, I did, and they were both lovely, lovely people. But yeah, thanks ever so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. All the usual stuff like Tom said about liking it and sharing it, greatly appreciated. And see you for the next one. Thank you very much.